Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. I'm going to talk a little bit today about the Mormon family that was killed in Mexico. In a nutshell, and there's a lot about the reporting coming out of there that's not clear yet. But in a nutshell, a Mormon family, 3 women and a bunch of kids, were traveling, and I guess the one car got a flat and the other 2 cars continued or went back for a spare. In the big scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. They split, and by the time they were approaching the other car, it was on fire, and then they got attacked, and I guess 3 women and 6 children were killed. More children were shot and injured but got away. One little boy seems to have been very heroic, although I fear for how he's going to grow up. And I just have a lot of thoughts on the whole thing. First thing is, isn't it interesting that they keep saying Mormon, 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 Mormon? I mean, does it matter? But they keep hitting that. They bring up the point, and I've read several articles on it now, that they were a polygamy sect, or I don't know how you want to phrase it. You know, one guy, multiple wives, polygyny. They bring that up a lot. The colony or whatever, their compound, their neighborhood, their community. You know, the words have meanings and they're loaded, right? It's been there since, I guess, around the 1920s, when this group of people left the U.S. because they wanted to practice polygyny, one man, multiple wives. And then the people who live there evidently have Mexican and United States citizenship. And so they're just doing their thing, kind of like us, right? As a group, in that they just want to live their life and kind of be left alone, right? And do their thing, and they ain't bothering nobody, don't want to be bothered by nobody. That's kind of the deal. It's that noise. And so some thoughts on that. And I'm just going to get to the first one because it keeps screaming in my head, and I'm not going to be able to talk about anything else if I don't get rid of that one. What in the hell were they doing living there? Now, today. Got it. There were no cartels in the 20s. There are now, and those people are evil. I mean evil in the real sense. Possessed of demons, evil. They do things to people that's just horrible. Why were they living there? They should move. Just like those of you who live in bad places should move. Oh yeah, but I can't. You can. You just don't want to. You can, but you've done your cost-benefit analysis and you've decided to stay. The 2 biggest threats in Tiahuaki is people behaving badly and starvation. This is a classic example of people behaving badly. Get away from the people and you don't have those problems. It's no secret that the cartel is just running roughshod over everybody down there. I thought it was interesting how they were trying to push the theme early in the story that perhaps it was a mistaken identity by the cartel. They knew exactly what they were doing. They're not stupid. I said they're evil. They're not stupid. I think they've decided they don't want those people there anymore. Everybody can see the writing on the wall. Everybody can. I'm talking about you now. You Vikings who live in built-up areas. Everybody can see it. But they choose to remain. They kid themselves, they lie to themselves, they poo-poo things that are gnawing at the back of their head, but they choose to remain. And unfortunately, these women paid the consequence, and children, badly in some cases. you know, I've seen things on the internet and YouTube and stuff, people talking about it. They should have had up armored cars if they lived there. It wouldn't have done any good. They should have been armed. It wouldn't have done any good. Those cartels are like armies. Some of them are probably in the army. You know, men should never let their women go anywhere alone. Well, I kind of agree with that to a point, but that wouldn't have done any good there. The bottom line is they were gringas, in a place where they didn't belong. And I'm sure they were good people. I am. I'm convinced they were good people. And they were beset upon by evil people. And it could have been avoided if they just moved somewhere else. So that's one point. Second point, I guess, to hammer that home, I have a good friend. They did a Doomsday Preppers episode about him and his family. Decided to move to Costa Rica with his family. Hardcore prepper. And before they did, he and I had long conversations about that. And he was originally thinking of joining us here on Shofar Mountain, but for reasons that aren't germane here, chose not to. And so he decided to go to Costa Rica. And man, I told him, you don't want to do that. When things go wrong, you're the gringo with all the money. It doesn't matter if you're living modestly. You're the gringo with all the money. And you're not from around here. And that's a problem. And so I flirt with, you know, my go to hell plan, bug out plan, going to another country if things go terrible. But I got to tell you, the more I think about it, if it's terrible here in the United States, it's not going to be better anywhere else. I really don't think it will be. Not in the main. There could be some things. I watch a lot of videos of people who live in Thailand. For the most part, they're white men married to Thai women. That might work, but then again, it might not. You're not from around here. So that's one. I think being in the U.S. is probably the best bet for the Americans. We have a good contingent in England. There's the home turf advantage, right? I mean, if I moved to Scotland, how well accepted would I be there by the neighbors? And I even sort of speak the language, right? By the neighbors and the people there. It's just not the same. You got to kind of do the best you can with what you got, where you're at, right? So there's that. Those people, and they still may, could have moved years ago back to the States and lived somewhere similar. You know, the outback of New Mexico, the outback of Arizona, the outback of, heck, even Texas. They could have done that. But here's another very real thing that's been bugging me, and I guess I'll touch on it here. I'll probably talk about it more in another video later. I do not think, despite what I just said, that the desert Southwest is a good place to relocate to. I don't think it's a good place to live. First, you have the lack of water. Duh. That's a problem. Marjorie Wildcrafter, whatever. She used to, I don't know where she lives anymore, she used to live in like West Texas, high desert looking place. And she collected all her rainwater into these huge containers. And so she was seemingly okay. She had a video DVD out for a while called Backyard Homesteading or something like that. Food production or something. I did a video on it on YouTube. And it was good. And she showed her place. But I think it's a bad place to live because when everything goes topsy-turvy, the cartels are coming. The Mexicans are coming. The Hispanics and Latinos are coming. And if you're Hispanic or Latino, that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about, as you're looking at it, let's see, here's the Southwest, here's Maine, up here. It's going to change. Those people are going to take over. And if you are, because most of my viewers happen to be white, you're not going to fit in. And you're not going to do well there. And I think the cartels, I mean, they're already there to a degree, but nothing like they are in Mexico. We get a Democrat administration, it's going to get a lot worse down there. And you won't be able to sell what you have. Who's going to buy it? You know, you bought a house, you bought 40 acres, you know, and now you're like, oh yeah, PJ was right 5 years ago. We should move. You won't get anything for your place. No one's going to buy it. So I do not think the desert Southwest is a good place to go, because the writing's on the wall there. You know, Aztlan or Aztlan or whatever. Read Civil War II. It's an okay book. There's good thoughts in Civil War II, meaning it makes you think. By Chittum. So there's that. Now, for those of you who live in places, despite my cajoling, where there are gangbangers and criminals and thugs and hoods, and there are more of them in the built-up places than there are out in the countryside, which is not to say they don't exist in the countryside. There's just a whole lot less of them. Steps to take. I have body armor for everybody in my family. My plan, no, we don't walk around in it. My plan is if we ever have to evacuate and drive through, potentially dangerous times, everybody's donning body armor. Because body armor is good when people are shooting at you, right? Knowing how to drive offensively is a good thing. I don't know, I mean, if you don't have a lot of money, how you're going to learn to do that. But if you have money, you can pay to go to driving school. Offensive, I call it offensive driving. It's not really defensive driving. Crash and bang school. Those are good skills to have to get out of things in your car. To avoid ambushes. Pay attention to what's going on and evade. I'm not saying any of that would have worked for these women and children down in Mexico. It just saddens me. But heck, this is getting international coverage now because it was, blonde-haired, blue-eyed women and kids getting killed in Mexico. In the last week, how many women and children have been killed horribly in Mexico? A bunch. Heck, in the last week, how many people have been killed in Chicago, in Detroit, in Baltimore? How many people? You don't even hear about them. Happens all the time. All the time. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. Lines are being drawn. They're getting hardened. Evil is starting to pop its head up and look around. Y'all need to come out of her, my people. You need to get out into this. Make friends. Start a garden. Get some critters going. Figure out your water system. You guys are messing around, hanging out until one day out of the blue, something terrible's going to happen and you're going to be like, crap, I should have left 5 years ago. People occasionally go to my old videos on YouTube, I've been making them for a while now, and say, ha, this never happened. You told us to leave back here. Yeah, you should leave. You should leave. If you'd have left back then, you'd be set up better today, so that when tomorrow comes, you're squared away. Somebody's calling me. I've never given anyone this phone number. All right. I'm sad for those women and children. I'm sad for their remaining families. It's terrible. How do you take that and learn from it? What are you going to do about it? I've already done and am doing what I'm going to do about it. What about you? All right, I'll see you out there.